Hello, my good students. I believe you are still safe and healthy. I'm still teacher Ibrahim, once again, your teacher for general studies and communication skills. Remember, this program is brought to you by Rwanda Education Board in partnership with MASTERCARD Foundation, together with Inspire, Educate, and Empower Rwanda. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you remember, the government closed schools in March. And this was done to control the spread of the virus among the people. So for that reason, we have to study from home until school resumes in September. We concluded our discussion of the topic of democracy and good governance. And now I want us to move on to the topic of national service and self-reliance. Under this topic, we will analyze the importance of national service and self-reliance in development of our country. I hope you have your notebooks and pens ready, because you will need to write down a number of views for revision in your revision time or your free time. You also need to free yourself of any other noise or any other forms of distraction. But first, let us answer the question, what is national service? I asked you to find out what national service and what self-reliance means, but today I want us to first talk about national service. It's what we will start with, and then later we shall talk about self-reliance. Now, I hope you have your pen and book ready, because I want you to write down this definition. National service is a system where young people, upon completion or completing a given level of education and meeting certain conditions, offer their services to the state. National service is a system where young people, upon completing a given level of education and meeting certain conditions, offer their services to the state. During this period, they are expected to provide free and voluntary services to the state. They are expected to serve their nation with dignity and pride. This makes training compulsory. It means these young people will have to go through compulsory training, and they have met a certain number of conditions. They have to have completed a certain level of education, and they will offer free and voluntary services to the state. The services are not paid for. National service is not paid for. You don't get a salary or a wage. It is voluntary and it is free. However, in some countries, national service is compulsory. Some countries, simply, after you complete a certain level of education, you must provide compulsory service to the country in different sectors. Now, the recruits or the people that have been recruited for national service are given what we call basic military training. Basic military training and some other courses such as first aid, disaster response, patriotism, and what we call community service. You get training, some simple military training, and then you have training in some simple courses such as first aid, which is very important. You have disaster response in case there's a disaster, a natural disaster. You can participate by giving first aid. And then how do you help the people? And then there's patriotism. As a patriot, as a citizen, you are given some simple training on how to respect, how to love, how to care, and to look after your country and to protect the image of your country. And then community service, being able to look after your community, helping the poor, helping clean the roads, helping cleaning water sources. All of these make up what we call national service. In most countries, national service takes the form of even rendering military service to the state for a specific period of time. When you finish your, for example, A level, or when you finish your university, the government may decide to recruit you into the army and ask you to provide or to give military service for at least maybe 1 or 2 years. It is up to the government. Different countries have different ways of or different forms of national service. As long as you have completed a certain level of education, you will be recruited, for example, into the military, or you can be recruited into the police or into the army, and then you serve your country in that way. National service is usually identified with programs in which people volunteer for civil service. You volunteer. You can volunteer and say, I'm going to be a teacher. You can volunteer and say, I'm going to work as a nurse somewhere. You volunteer and say, I'm going to work with the police. Say, I want to work with the army. You give civil service, I want to work with the ministry. I want to work here and there. And maybe do clerical work or secretarial work. But you are serving the country for free. You are serving the people of your country for free on a voluntary basis. The specific shape of the service is greatly influenced by socio-cultural variables of the particular society in which it is implemented. It means the society in which you're going to operate will determine what you do there, depending on what is needed by that society, depending on the culture. Because sometimes if you're going to work at a hospital, then you cannot be going around maybe teaching people things that don't relate with health. So even your training will depend on where you're going to work. It will also determine what you are going to do as you provide the service.
Come along and play with us.
Now, national service is very important for what we call economic development, because especially social and economic development of the society, because the young people are more energetic. Remember, you're doing this work for free, which means it reduces on the expenditure of the government in a certain way. And then secondly, your provision of national service breeds what we call social cohesion and patriotism. As a young person, you tend to learn more things. You tend to understand how exactly to survive with other people, how to help other people. Because you're doing this for free, you develop a sense of patriotism and love for your country. And also, as a young person, you learn skills that help you to become self-reliant, and it reduces your dependence on other people. You can depend on other people, but not for survival. You depend on other people for the development of your country. In case you need their help, you will of course need to have people around you, but you can ably sustain yourself as a person. And as a young people, it keeps you away from bad things such as drug abuse and other forms of immorality, because you are busy, you are kept busy, and you're trained and taught how to help other people, how to behave, how to love your country. As a human being, you become better being part of national service. Let us look at some of the examples of national service programs in Rwanda. The first one is Urugerero, which is a form of national service aimed at development programs that enhance growth in all sectors of the economy. This model is voluntary to all youths aged between 16 and 30. Remember, being a youth, you as a young person start between 16 and 30. Like I told you, there is a lot of energy there. So you are free. Please feel free to take part in these activities or in these programs because of the various benefits. We shall, as we go on, we shall see the different benefits of being part of such programs. We said number one is Urugerero. Then number two, we have what we call Itorero, which is a homegrown initiative or program that helps to instill positive values among the Rwandan youth, the young people, and it helps to develop their love for the nation. This program or initiative aims at ensuring that the youth develop what we call a value system that promotes voluntary service to the nation with the aim of promoting unity, tolerance, patriotism, and democratic governance. Now, itorero is for young people, helping them to learn how to have values of respect, dignity, a sense of brotherhood, patriotism, being able to live within your society with other people without having any grudges with them, how to respect your elders and leaders. It teaches so much about moral values and generally the social values and the national values of the country. And as a young person, by the time you grow up to get out of your parents' home, you must have learned how you need to live as a member of society, an independent member of society, because you need to be able to respect the other people. You need to be able to serve your country at various levels, and this is done through the initiative known as itorero. Now, a person who has undergone the training of itorero and is expected to volunteer for urugerero is called an inore. This person who has received this kind of training, who has been able to be part of the training and received the education of itorero, is referred to as an inore. And this person is expected, you are expected, having received this kind of education, this kind of training through the time of your youth, at some point you are expected to participate in urugerero or activities that are for the benefit of developing your country and to enhance, improve your economy, improve your society, both politically, economically, and financially.
Come along and play with us.
And then we also have what we call umuganda, which is a form of community service that is compulsory to all people who have strength, able-bodied citizens. Able-bodied citizens are those people who have no disabilities that can stop them from participating in umuganda. Now, as a person, if you have no disability of any sort, you are a person who is of age, you are old enough. As a young person, I'm sure by the time you get to A level in senior 5, senior 6, you are strong enough to participate in umuganda. Unless you really have a disability that can stop you from participating, there's no reason as to why you should be running away from these activities. Now, the efforts or the activities of umuganda are aimed at building cohesion, social cohesion, because people come together to clean the public places such as schools, such as roads, water sources. People come together, and during this weekend, umuganda takes place on the last Saturday of the month. When people come together, they share so much, and you discover there's a lot in common that you have with other people in regards to your country. And as a person, the efforts of things that you do during the umuganda, it makes you feel more as part of the community and the society in a different way. You realize that, first of all, the society needs you, and then secondly, you need the society to be able to be considered a good Rwandan. Sometimes some people may think they are better off alone, but then when you participate in these activities, you discover you're not. Maybe you need other people, and the other people need you in a variety of ways. So the efforts of urugerero, itorero, and umuganda always lead what we call sustainable social and economic transformation of the country. The country becomes better and better each and every day, socially, politically, and economically, because we, the young people, are the basis or at the foundation of the country. And that's why the government takes an initiative to ensure that we are educated and taught the values of the country. We are given an opportunity to participate in building our country, in serving our people, and ensuring that we meet with these people and we learn these values each and every time the opportunity rises. Now, if you start dodging these activities, at the end of the day, you are doing what we call a disservice to your country. You are not helping your country become a better place for everyone that lives there and for all the other people who may want to come and live with us.
Come along and play with us.
Now, there are some models of national service. There are 3 models. These models of national service are the ones that you will find them in different countries. Number 1 is compulsory service. This is where people of a given age and there's a certain age limit. When you reach a certain age limit and you have completed studies at a given level and you meet certain conditions, you must. These conditions are determined by the government. They are put in place and you must offer your services to the country for a specific period of time. This period of time is specified by the state, and when you get to a certain age and you finish a certain level of education, you are not only expected, but you must offer some service to your state. Then there is the voluntary service, where those who are providing their service to the state will do so at their own will. You are free either to participate in national service or not to participate in national service. But you must remember that national service is not only for the benefit of your country, but even you as a person. You learn a variety of skills, you learn a variety of things, a variety of values, and you become a better person by simply participating in what we call national service. Now, there is the blended service. This is a mixture of compulsory and voluntary service. There are a variety of activities. Some of them will be voluntary, some will be compulsory. So people of a given age are mandated to provide services. Others not falling into the compulsory categories but wish to provide their services to the state are also equally allowed. Whereby maybe there are those who are expected offer national service at a certain age or after a certain level of education. But then there are those others who may want to come and say, oh, I also want to participate. Maybe I am out of the age bracket, or maybe I have not reached the level of education that you asked for, but I want to offer my service in any way that you feel I can. So that is what we call the blended service. Now, that is what we call national service.
Come along and play with us.
Then I want us to talk about self-reliance. Self-reliance, I hope you found the definition. Now I want you to compare with mine. This is what we call being independent. It means relying on one's own resources, your own resources, to satisfy your own needs. This means relying on one's resources to satisfy one's needs. It means you don't require other people to take decisions on your behalf. You can be independent enough, use your own resources to take care of your needs. And this implies there is need for the ability to do or make decisions on our own. The decisions have to be made by ourselves. Because we are using our own resources, it allows us the chance to make our own decisions. If you're using another person's resources, it is going to be very difficult to make your own decisions. I'm sure you know this, for example, in the homes where you live. If you are using your father's radio, you cannot determine how long you should be listening to the radio. This is going to be determined by your father. But if the radio belongs to you, then it is up to you to determine when you listen to the radio, for how long, and what you listen to. If you have your own computer, you know what to do with your own computer. You have your own phone, you can do whatever you want with your phone. But if you're using somebody else's, for example, you want to go for a journey, you don't have your own money for the transport, then somebody else is going to determine when you take this journey, because they are the ones who are going to finance the journey. So it will depend on what that person wants. They can even give you conditions. Say, before you go to your grandmother's village, before I give you the money to go, I want you to wash my car, or I want you to clean the compound, or I want you to wash my clothes. This person will give you conditions. Sometimes some of these conditions will not be to your liking. But if you're self-reliant, you have your own resources, you can meet your own needs. That is what we call self-reliance. In most cases, the performance of the task or maybe the meeting of your needs will depend on your ability, your power, and your resources. That is why, as a person, you must make sure that you improve or increase your resources in order for these resources to be able to meet your needs. That's why, as students or as a country, the government provides people with education. It provides people with health, provides people with financial services, provides them with access to economic activities in order to develop a certain level of self-reliance, such that people don't have to beg their neighbors for food. They don't have to go and beg their neighbors for medicine, but you can easily finance or facilitate your own needs.
Come along and play with us.
Now, self-reliance always arises out of the realization that we can put our resources and abilities to use in an effort to satisfy our needs. If you don't realize that you have even the resources, we need to know which resources we have and what these resources can do for us. Generally, as a country, for example, there are resources that we have, but we need to know what we can use these resources for, how well we can use them, and what we can use them to do. How can we benefit from these resources? That will determine how self-reliant we become, depending on how we can use these resources to satisfy our needs. Now, this demands that sometimes we need to be patient, sometimes we need to sacrifice, sometimes we need to be patriotic, and we need to commit. We need to be committed to our country and our societies, which means, as people, if our country has not reached a level of self-reliance that is required, we need to be able to sacrifice something. We need to be willing to pay taxes. We need to be diligent in a sense that we can easily see if someone is misusing our resources. That's what diligence means. We need to be honest. We need to be patriotic. We need to love our country and be able to help whenever we are required to help, because we are doing all this to help our country be more independent and more self-reliant. Otherwise, if we are going to keep begging and borrowing from other countries, these countries are going to keep putting conditions on our leaders, and then it will be difficult for our leaders to give us the services that we need the way we need them, because sometimes the conditions set for them may be too difficult for them to help us. Now, I want us to look at the different things that people can do to help them become more self-reliant, especially the country. The country needs to identify what the people need. We said there is need for active participation of people in different activities. And then there's need for exchange of ideas, skills, and values. For us to be able to become self-reliant, for the country to become self-reliant, it needs to know what the people need. It needs to allow people or to engage everyone in different activities. As people, we need to become active and participate in different activities. And we also need to share our ideas and views, share our skills, give in our skills and values to help improve our country's self-reliance. Now, people and nations are expected to meet their needs in a sustainable manner, and this can be achieved through what we call self-reliance. Social interaction and consensus building are very central in self-reliance, in achieving self-reliance. When you give people a chance to achieve a culture of dialogue, people share ideas, people share their views, we tend to learn how exactly we can become self-reliant and how people can improve their livelihoods and be able to sustain their own lives. Now, self-reliance pays attention to the socio-economic and political needs of the people, which means it refers to the people's ability. The people get to a certain level to be able to achieve social cohesion, living together peacefully without any quarrels. And then it will enable what we call social accountability, where people can ask their leaders for how they have used the money. The leaders tend to become more accountable to the people, and then it helps in mobilizing resources. You have to find that these resources that you need to use are mobilized as much as possible, and then you build and maximize interpersonal capacity to address issues and to take initiatives. As people, you find that people need to have more capacity, and then you have to access material and monetary assets, financial services, and then also management of materials and monetary assets needs to be very, very efficient.
Come along and play with us.
Now, as we conclude our lesson, we need to remember that as citizens, especially the youth, we have a responsibility to serve our nation every time we are called upon. We should not wait for compulsory programs to force us to serve our country. We can provide our services whenever there is need. A good example is during this difficult time when we are faced with the problem of COVID-19. We can offer our voluntary service just like the guides in public places, such as taxi parks, markets, and so on, to help make sure this deadly virus does not spread among our people, especially those with low immunity. And then so we can also offer our service to our country in a variety of ways, and we will talk about them in our next lesson. I want you to remember to find out which those different ways we can offer our national service are, and then when we meet again, I want us to discuss those. I want to wish you all the best of luck, and remember to stay safe and follow the guidelines of the government regarding coronavirus. Goodbye.
Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time. Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye,